Snow White.
Long, long ago in the winter-time, when the snowflakes were falling like little white feathers from the sky, a queen sat sewing by her window. As she worked, she sometimes looked at the falling snow. One day, she pricked her finger with her needle, and 3 drops of blood fell upon the snow. The bright red blood looked so beautiful on the dazzling white that she thought to herself, "Oh, if only I had a dear little child with skin as white as snow, lips as red as blood, and hair as black as ebony." Soon afterward, the queen gave birth to a little daughter who had skin as white as snow, lips as red as blood, and hair as black as ebony. She named her Snow White. But alas, when the little one was born, the good queen died. A year passed, and the king took another wife. The new queen was very beautiful, but also vain and arrogant. She could not bear the thought of anyone being more beautiful than her. She possessed a magical mirror that always spoke the truth. Every day she would stand before it and say, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" And the mirror would reply, "You, O Queen, are fairest of all." Hearing this, the queen was content, knowing that she was the most beautiful in the land. Snow White grows more beautiful, but as time passed, Snow White grew more and more beautiful. By the time she was 7 years old, she was as lovely as a bright summer day, so lovely that even the queen's beauty could not compare to hers. One day, when the queen asked her mirror the usual question, it replied, "O Lady Queen, though fair you be, Snow White is fairer to see." The queen was horrified. Envy and pride filled her heart like wild weeds, growing stronger each day. Finally, she could no longer bear to see Snow White's beauty. She called a huntsman and ordered, "Take the child into the woods and kill her. Bring me her heart as proof that you have obeyed my will." The huntsman dared not disobey the queen's orders. But when he led Snow White deep into the woods and raised his bow to pierce her innocent heart, the little girl wept and pleaded for her life. Her beauty and innocence touched his heart, so he let her go. "Run away, child! Never return to the palace," he whispered. As a wild boar ran past, the huntsman killed it, took its heart, and presented it to the queen as proof of Snow White's death. Alone in the forest, poor Snow White was now all alone in the dark forest. She was frightened, trembling at every rustling leaf. She ran through the woods, not knowing where to go, until she came upon a small cottage. Inside, everything was tiny but beautifully neat and clean. On the table there were 7 little plates, each with a small piece of bread and a tiny goblet. Against the wall stood 7 small beds, covered with soft white sheets. Snow White was so hungry that she took a little bit from each plate and drank a few drops from each goblet. Then, feeling exhausted, she tried each bed until she found the 7th one just right. She said her prayers and fell into a deep sleep. The 7 Dwarfs. That evening, the owners of the cottage returned, 7 dwarfs who worked in the mountains mining for gold. When they entered their home, they noticed something was not right. "Who has been sitting in my chair?" asked one. "Who has been eating from my plate?" said another. They continued asking questions until the 7th dwarf looked at his bed and cried, "Someone is sleeping in my bed." The others gathered around and, to their amazement, found Snow White sleeping peacefully. She looked so beautiful that they decided to let her rest. At sunrise, Snow White woke up and was startled to see the dwarfs, but they were kind and asked her name. "My name is Snow White," she answered. She told them about her cruel stepmother and how the huntsman had spared her life. The dwarf said, "If you stay with us, take care of our home, cook, clean, and keep everything tidy, you may live here and you will want for nothing." "With all my heart," Snow White replied, and so she stayed. The wicked queen's revenge. Meanwhile, the queen, believing that Snow White was dead, stood before her mirror and asked, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" To her horror, the mirror replied, "O Lady Queen, though fair you be, Snow White is fairer to see. Over the hills and far away, with 7 dwarfs she lives today." The queen was furious. She disguised herself as an old peddler woman and travelled to the dwarf's cottage. When Snow White opened the door, the queen offered her a beautiful lace. As soon as Snow White allowed the woman to lace her dress, the queen pulled it tight until Snow White collapsed, unable to breathe. That evening, the dwarfs found her unconscious and quickly cut the lace, saving her life. The next day, the queen returned with a poisoned comb. When she placed it in Snow White's hair, the girl fell down again. The dwarfs arrived in time and removed the comb, bringing her back to life. The queen, enraged that Snow White was still alive, crafted a poisoned apple. Disguised once more, she tricked Snow White into eating it. The girl took one bite and fell to the ground, lifeless. This time, when the dwarfs found her, they could not awaken her. They placed her in a glass coffin on a mountain top, where they mourned her deeply. But the prince and the happy ending. One day, a prince travelling through the forest saw the glass coffin and was captivated by Snow White's beauty. "I cannot live without her," he said. "Please, let me take her with me." The dwarfs, moved by his love, agreed. As his servants carried the coffin, they stumbled, causing the piece of poisoned apple to dislodge from Snow White's throat. She opened her eyes, sat up and gasped, "Where am I?" The prince, overjoyed, said, "You are safe with me, my love." He asked her to be his wife, and Snow White, filled with happiness, agreed. They married in a grand celebration, inviting everyone, including the wicked queen. When the queen asked her mirror who was the fairest, it finally answered, "O Lady Queen, though fair you be, the young queen is fairer to see." Filled with rage and fear, the queen fled, never to be seen again. A lifetime of happiness. Snow White and the prince lived happily together in the royal palace. She invited the 7 dwarfs to live with them, ensuring they never had to mine for gold again. Years later, Snow White gave birth to a beautiful princess who had her mother's kindness and her father's courage. And so they lived happily ever after, proving that love, kindness, and bravery can overcome even the darkest of evil. The end.
Hello, everyone!
My name is Doha, and this is my channel for learning English in a simple, fun, and exciting way. With my advanced expertise in teaching English, I have developed effective and engaging methods to make learning easy and enjoyable. Through storytelling, I help learners improve their vocabulary, listening skills, and overall understanding of the language. I believe that learning a language should be fun, so I bring you interesting and interactive stories to help you improve your English effortlessly. Whether you're a beginner or looking to enhance your skills, my stories will make learning an exciting adventure. Don't miss out. Subscribe now and follow me for more fun lessons, amazing stories, and interactive learning experiences. Let me know in the comments which stories you'd love to hear next.